Hey everybody, welcome back. It is the Razzball Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I am Beaton, joined by the Fantasy Master Lothario, Gray Albright. How's it going over there, Gray?
Hey man, what's going on? Chilling. Cool. Right. Yeah. I got since the last time I saw you, I got a haircut. You didn't even notice. I went to I think I've told you in the past that my hairdresser is 86 years old, and yeah, last year it's not even funny. Last year he had a stroke and had to relearn how to cut hair on YouTube. Did I tell you about that? I think I did.
You did tell me that he had to relearn how to cut hair.
Yes. Yeah. He did YouTube tutorials to learn how to recut hair. So then I went to him last week, and I was like, because every time I go to him, I'm like, I gotta kind of ask him how his health is, So I'm like, hey man, how's your health been? He's like, I just found out I have colon cancer. I'm like, oh geez.
Oh man.
I know, not good. Things are not good for my hairdresser. So, send your best wishes towards my hairdresser.
Will do, Gray. And to be fair on the not noticing, you are in a digital background where like I don't see the top of your head anyways most times.
Really?
So
Oh, well, we got
you can't really fully appreciate the hair. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've gone non-digital back here for anybody watching on YouTube. There's real like banner and light here.
Oh, wow. I have to I feel like I have to get my setup better so you can see my hair. That's like my best feature. Huh. We'll have to for next pod we'll have to work on that because honestly this might be my last haircut. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully not. Hopefully I'm able to get more haircuts in the future.
Yeah, I mean now that the facial hair is gone, but the hair has to carry a little bit more weight now, Gray. I mean the glasses can only do so much.
I know. I got my accoutrements on my face. So, I have to have at least one accoutrement. I lost the mustache, but gained the glasses. So, and the hair is, that's, first and foremost, as we know.
The moneymaker, of course, right?
It is.
Let's go ahead and get in the rankings. We are covering third base, the last of the infield positions before we start the two-part outfield show. We've covered the first two in previous podcasts, Jose Ramirez and Vlad Jr., both in the top 20 podcasts. Let's go on to the second tier here. Number 3, Jazz Chisholm Jr. Last year, across two teams, had 24 home runs, 40 stolen bases, 74, 73, hit 256, 324, 436. The numbers did get better when he got to the Yankees. He had 273 versus 249 in Miami. He had 11 home runs in 46 games versus 13 home runs in 101 games in Miami. He's going to be third base, outfield eligible to start the season and has been, quote unquote, penciled in to play second base. Do you like Jazz Chisholm? I mean, obviously you got him at third at not the place that third base maybe was, at the early 2000s, but it's still a pretty decent top end position at least.
Yeah, I think third base as we go along in the position, we'll discuss this more, I'm sure, but third base actually isn't as bad as it was, as recently as maybe even last year. It has it has quite a few guys that I think you're able to draft up top. There's a fall off for sure. It's not like the deepest position. I wouldn't say it's shortstops, but it is probably around on par with first baseman at this point. And second base is probably the worst. With catchers aside, catchers are the worst, obviously. Anyway, so I think third base with Jazz Chisholm is like. I don't see any, like last year I was concerned because he never really stayed on the field for longer than 125 games. So, that was my biggest concern with him. But Hey, I'm not, I don't hold a grudge here. He showed me he's able to stay on the field last year. He played 147 games. So because of that, 562 at bats last year, he had a 24 homer, 40 steal season, as you mentioned. I think because of that, hey, I'm in. Until he screws us once again, if he does, I have no problem with Jazz Chisholm Jr. I actually I kind of like him. I would be happy to draft him at this spot. He was I believe in my overall rankings, he's at 21 overall. So he just missed my top 20. So, like once we have like an injury in the top 20, Jazz Chisholm is probably going to end up in the top 20 because there's always someone. I don't want to give people a kind of horror, but at some point, someone's going to get injured, unfortunately. And it's going to be Paul Skeen. Sorry. No, it's not. Hopefully it's no one. Knock on wood. But if someone does get injured, Jazz Chisholm's going to move into the top 20. I think he was like really like I debated pretty like I probably would have put Jazz Chisholm Jr. in the top 20 if it wasn't for the fact that I am just so crazy about Jackson Churio and Jaron Duran that I squeezed them in the top 20, but they're all like, I think I mentioned this at one point in the rankings. It's kind of like 20 A, B, and C with Jaron Duran, Jackson Churio, and Jazz Chisholm Jr. Like I would be fine if the top 20 went to 21, Jazz Chisholm Jr. would have easily made it. I'm happy to draft him. I like him a lot. I think there's a probably with third base, while solid, not terrible, it's not a bad idea to lock that position down early either. So I think with Jazz Chisholm Jr. playing in New York for the whole year this coming year, that's going to really I'm excited to see what he can do with Yankee Stadium for 81 games and just being in the AL East versus the NL East. I think and having a good lineup, or at least much better lineup than the Marlins. I think Jazz Chisholm Jr. could really have a career year this year. I don't know if the steals, like he stole last year after he came over from the Yankees, so I don't know if the steals are going to dry up completely. But you have to factor in he's going to have he's going to have more guys behind him who actually can swing the bat and knock him in. So maybe a few times that he's going to be like running or gets a green light to run, and someone behind him swings the bat and makes contact versus what was going on in Miami. So I think also right now I'm seeing Jason Dominguez projected as the leadoff hitter in New York, and I don't know if that's going to be the case. That feels a little bit optimistic for Jason Dominguez. It could be. I mean, I would be happy with it. I'd be fine with it. I don't know if it's going to happen though. I don't think it's really that realistic to expect that. I don't know. Maybe I feel like there might be a case to be made that Jazz Chisholm Jr. ends up hitting most days in front of Aaron Judge as the leadoff guy. So then you go lefty, righty, lefty with Cody Bellinger hitting third, and then whoever Giancarlo or Goldschmidt or whoever's healthy. I think Jazz Chisholm Jr. we could be looking at an easy career year here, just being in the Yankees lineup in the Yankee Stadium for the full season. So I'm a fan. I think there's probably an outside chance here of getting like 30, 50 to 60 plus season, which is top 10 easy type year. I mean, he wasn't that far off of those numbers last year. It's just a matter of 30, 50. you're talking, probably top 5 even. So a top 5 fantasy year, and he wasn't that far off from those numbers. So yeah, I'm in big time for sure.
Yep, and it was the best strikeout rate of his career. And while the contact quality numbers were down a little bit for the season, they all got better once he got to New York, and it would have been his best home run the fly ball if you just count the time in New York. So ballpark definitely matters a little bit here. Jazz isn't Aaron Judge. He can't hit it out of every ballpark 50 plus times, but being in a smaller park definitely seemed to have helped a little bit. And yeah, I think he's going to move. I think there's going to be some movement in the Yankees lineup in general. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him at 1 some days at 5, some days at 6, some days at 3. Just like wherever it kind of makes sense for him to go. I think there's going to be a little bit of movement there. Plus, they've got Judge doesn't play every game every year. Bellinger probably same. Stanton same. I mean, Stanton's already hurt. Goldschmidt's 38 years old or whatever he is. So there's going to be some room for movement in the lineup as a whole.
Yeah, I also think there's something to, like, this is more anecdotal, but I believe that Jazz to me feels like a kind of guy who likes the spotlight of New York, and maybe there was a little bit of a malaise for him going on down in Miami, whereas like there's no fans, there's no action. It's like, why bother on some days? I think that might have even played into like some of his off years in Miami, whereas like in New York, I think he does well with more, just more people, more attention on him, just having the spotlight. So I don't know. I mean, that's just my sort of feeling with him. That may or may not be true, but it feels that way.
I mean, I'm sure that's part of it. And then there's also he's played a meaningful games of baseball for the first time in his 5-year professional career. That has to be nice as well, to actually go up and have it be meaningful, and not just be stat padding, and probably a little easier to skip out on some of those games in Miami when they weren't going to win anything anyways.
Yeah, and also like just I don't think either of us really mentioned the fact that second, third, and outfield is, I mean, it's great. It's great. I personally would love to have that on like all my teams. That position eligibility, getting imagine getting. He might even be underrated or undervalued, being ranked 21 overall for me, like a second baseman, a third baseman, and an outfielder who could go 30, 50, 260. Sign me up, man. Let's go.
Yeah. Allows you to do some other things as your draft unfolds too. You don't have to be looking to fill a specific position, which is nice. I mean, it is a nice thing just in our AL only. I mean, I think Willie Castro went for like $20, mostly based on, I think, position eligibility and then of course the speed, but there's definitely some use in the multi position. I don't know that I'd move it up terribly high on my rankings. I have him at 25 overall. He's been going like 21 in the last or in February on NFBC on based on their ADP. So it's kind of like I haven't been in the right spot to draft him, and I would though. He's a great player, and I like him. Mm-hmm. Moving on, I do actually have the next guy above him. So if he's on the board, I'm taking him, and that is Austin Riley. Last year in 110 games, he had 19 home runs, 63, 56. He hit 256, 322, 461. Young projected for 35 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 93, 96, and 274. Had a kind of a side ab issue earlier and then a hand issue later. Like all the contact numbers are pretty much actually better than they were in 2023. From May to August when he was healthy, he hit 263, 324, 500 with 16 home runs. Again, I'm just kind of giving him a pass, whether right or wrong, on last year.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably the the whole Braves lineup gets a pass for last year, really, right? I mean, it's like there's no one except for Marcell Ozuna was any good last year for the Braves. I think Austin Riley, for me, just ranking him fourth, behind Jazz Chisholm Jr., but in front of everyone else for third base is like that's me giving him a pass. I couldn't justify putting a guy who best case scenario for me, Austin Riley's going like what 35, 100. I mean, all right, give him his best case scenario from his previous seasons. He hit 38 homers in 2022. So say 40 homers. So he goes 40, 275, 280. So 40 homers, 280. Great year. I mean, that I would happily take that. Don't get me wrong, but that for me is still below, Jazz Chisholm Jr.'s best. So yeah, just because of the steals, like Austin Riley's not going to give you any steals. So I still like him though. And then there's also just the fact that Austin Riley is coming back from injuries and had such an off year last year. It would be impossible for me to managed to rank him above Jazz Chisholm Jr., but you do what you want there, B Don.
Hey, I get it.
Hey, you make your own calls.
Hey, he went 24, 40, and he was 36th on the player rater. I mean, yeah, he could do better, but if he just puts up those numbers again, look, if we knew for sure he was sitting atop the Yankees lineup every day in front of Aaron Judge, 100%. But as of right now, I feel like it's just a bunch of guys moving in and out of that one spot until somebody claims it. And he's never really been an on-base guy. So I don't really expect it to be him long-term. Maybe he gets it versus righties, which which would be strong side platoon one. And that's
Wait,
nice.
are you talking about Jazz Chisholm Jr. again?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we moved on from him.
Yeah, I know. I'm just telling you why.
I know. I'm just messing with you. Yeah. No, I hear you. It's fair. I mean, before last year, I would have been 100% on board with that because of Jazz Chisholm Jr. He's only done it 1 year, so it's not like there's not a long track record there. So I'm not. I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that hard. I do have Austin Riley pretty close to him in the rankings. Like I do think, like as long as he's healthy, as long as he's able to bounce back from last year, I have no problem taking Austin Riley. I think, like I said, 40 to 80 is probably the upside. He's never approached that for power. He has hit 300 in the past, but it was quite a few years ago. But anyway, if he goes realistically 34, 275, 270, it's still great. Because he's going to be, in theory, he's going to be in a great lineup. He's going to give you, all the runs that come with that, say 90 plus runs, which is a lot for a power first guy. And then probably 105 to 115 RBIs. So, and that's, those are all kind of baselines. Like there's definitely room there for more. It just depends kind of like what the Braves lineup looks like more than anything. I think if Austin Riley is healthy, I'd probably agree with you and have him above Jazz Chisholm Jr. Not that he's not healthy right now. I'm just saying if he were healthy last year and we were just continuing on from his previous good years, like if there wasn't a down year last year, I would be 100% in on him in front of Jazz Chisholm Jr. It's just there's a little bit of risk, I guess, because of the terrible year he's coming off of. But hopefully the Braves are good again. Let's I'm absolutely, like, I'm not a Braves fan necessarily for the team, but I would really like to see the Braves be good again because of all the guys in their lineup that I want to see be good. From top to bottom, that lineup should hopefully be so much better after last year, where just about everyone besides Ozuna, I think, disappointed. And now they added Jerickson Profar, another guy who was good last year. So I mean, I expect him to be worse, but still, he might be okay. he could be solid until Acuna returns or whatever, and then Kalenic gets knocked out of the lineup. But yeah, I think there's a chance there for Riley. Like, if he's hitting third in that lineup, there's a chance there for 95, 110 runs and RBIs, easy. Everything, if everything is fixed as far as his health goes.
Yeah, I get it. I understand what you're saying. I still like Austin Riley. Every year that he's played, the last 3 years, his dollar on the player rater is worth more than Jazz was last year. I'm just saying. So we'll just move on.
Every year for last year,
The last 3 years, other than last year, which he was hurt.
I didn't hear.
The 3 years prior.
I got you. I didn't hear you say
3 years prior, Austin Riley was still worth more than Jazz was last year.
Oh, okay. I didn't know, because I didn't hear you say other than last year, because then you would, because last year you're saying because Austin Riley was injured, but you're not giving Jazz Chisholm a pass for when he was injured. I got you. I'm following now.
Yeah, I mean, Jazz has done it 1 year. I'm giving Austin Riley a pass for 1 year. Like, it feels okay. We'll move on. We'll move on off this topic. We're arguing over like 2 spots in our rankings, I'm sure, Gray.
We're arguing over 21 overall and like 25
24,
overall.
25, something like that. Yeah, it's really not that big a deal. It's gonna be who falls to you in most draft rooms that aren't auctions.
That's why people are tuning in. They're tuning in for this. This is what they get. This is oh wow, we got B Don and Gray going at it over
Austin Riley,
over 3 runs and 4 RBIs.
All right. Number 5, Manny Machado. Last year had 29 runs, 11 stolen bases, 77, 105, hit 275, 325, 472. Young projected for 31 home runs, 10 stolen bases, 71, 108, and 272. It was the second best average exit velocity and hard hit of his career. The 11 stolen bases is really nice. I don't know that I expect that again, but it was nice to see him get some stolen bases despite being, on a walker out there on the playing field.
Yeah, Machado actually, to me, might be one of the fastest guys in baseball, but he only chooses to run fast like maybe a handful of times a year. He's not he's very selective about when he chooses to run. He doesn't necessarily exert himself 162 games with, I mean, it's like you're getting a guy who's cherry picking his best steal opportunities, and it's actually kind of worked for him. Like, you look at his steal numbers and you're like, I mean, yeah, maybe you don't expect 11 steals from him like he did last year, but I mean, he could do that. It's like impossible to say. Like, 1 year, like in 2022, he stole 9 bags. Last year, he stole 11. Then in the middle of those 2 years, he stole 3 bags. So what are you looking for here? You're going to get like a dozen steals or 2. It's like, how do you project that? I don't know. It's impossible to say. I will say though, looking at his stats I mean, it's crazy as it is to say, he looks like a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's incredibly productive year in and year out. Like, career 280 hitter with, averages, it looks like about 32 homers a year over the course of 11, 12 years. He's really good. It's like, I don't know. I think he probably gets a little bit of a bad rap because he's definitely doesn't run to first base ever. so that probably gives him a little bit of a bad rap. He's I don't know. It's hard to look at his his projections and his stats and be like, that's bad, right? I mean, he's looking at, even if you take me out of the equation and you look at other people's projections for him, it's like 30 homers, 9 steals, 265 average. I mean, a little bit less than Austin Riley, but that's why he's ranked like right below him. He's not really, I mean, he's not that far from Austin Riley's numbers. It's just going to depend on runs and RBIs. And, again, like runs and RBIs wise, he's been very productive over the course of his career, with roughly 80 runs, 80 to 90 runs and 100 plus RBIs 3 of the last 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, he's been just consistent, does what he does. I don't know how he gets the stolen bases. I mean, he's so slow, but he's been doing this for a long time. He gets a handful of them every season, just kind of finds the time in the game where nobody's paid attention to him and just grabs the stolen bases where they come. So, yeah, I mean, give him a handful and enjoy the 30 home runs and then the counting stats that come along with Manny. I have no problem with Manny. He does what he does. And yeah, I mean, a few more years probably is Hall of Fame worthy.
Yeah. I mean, what he's probably like home to first. He's probably the slowest guy who's ever played baseball, but maybe he's just playing possum. Like maybe that's part of the Manny sort of strategy to be like, I can barely get to first, but then when you're not paying attention, I swipe second. I don't know. Maybe
it's just something to do with the name Manny, like because Ramirez did it too. Like he would just walk the first base, but also he would steal second occasionally. Like, what are you doing? Where's this coming from?
Yeah, but see with like Manny Ramirez, I feel like he had that thing where it was like you weren't sure if he was going to run to first or third. You were like, what's Manny going to do here? Because Manny doesn't know what he's going to do. I feel like that's the difference between Machado and Ramirez. Machado,
he wasn't running to third grade. He was going to left field. He knew he was out. He was just, running to his position. It's fine.
And Machado is like, he's going to run to first, but there's a chance he could step on the first baseman's ankle just to give a little, oops. Oh, did I do that? My bad.
Just fast enough to catch the first baseman.
Yeah.
Let's move on to number 6 here, Gray. Rafael Devers, last year in 138 games, 20 home runs, 3 stolen bases, 87, 83, hit 272, 354, 516. You're projected for 27 home runs, 5 stolen bases, 95, 89, 277, and 542 at bats. Career best walk rate, average exit velocity and line drive rate, second best hard hit and barrel, but did miss some time, which is a little concerning coming into this season. What are your thoughts on Rafael Devers, who, if you read the post, you made a case of why you went with Manny over Rafi?
Yeah, I think Rafael Devers. I think if you're drafting him, you are way more optimistic than I am. I really am concerned. Like he was coming last year with the shoulder issue he had one of the worst second halves last year with I believe it was I want to say 5 homers in like 200 plus at bats and hit 244. I really am out on Devers this year. More power to you if you can get in on him. I see him as a guy who had a shoulder issue last second half, really was poor in the second half of last year, really bad. And then, has like no other attributes really as far as like steals. Like he's not going to be able to, make up for that lack of power. So if you get into a situation where even if his shoulder is fine right now and he feels good, and even if he's good in April, like at some point this season, if his shoulder starts becoming an issue again, and 6-month season's long season for a guy who's got a shoulder issue, if he has a setback in like May or June, and he loses any of his power, and he has no speed whatsoever, so it's like his second half was like, I think, probably bottom 300 for in the after like the top 300 for the second half. Like his second half was so bad. So I am 100% out on Rafael Devers at like his price where he's going in ADP. I think is like in the 30s ish. I think I have him ranked around like 50 to 60. I'm out. I'm not drafting him. There's absolutely no way.
Yeah, I mean, I have him at 30. He's going at 31. I don't have a problem taking him at that price. I haven't ended up with him because I have him behind like some guys that I would rather have, which include, as you do, Manny Machado, James Wood, and then I have like Olsen and Alonso above him. But he's at the back end of the 30 home run, 270 group. And only in the back because of the injury, that's certainly something to be worried about. We've seen shoulder injuries just kill power. Previously, it wasn't something that he went and had to have like a year-long break and recovery time. So I'm not penalizing him too harshly, but I'm just acknowledging the risk. And otherwise, he'd be probably, top 25 rather than top 30.
Yeah, it's not a far enough fall for me for the risk involved. I'm out. I think like you look at his numbers for the last 3 years, 27 homers, 33 homers, 28 homers. And then you look at like Machado, 32 homers, 30 homers, and 29 homers. Like Machado easily tops Devers in power for at least the last 3 years, and he has easily more speed. Again, when we're talking about steals, at least more steals he has, not necessarily more speed. That, as we've already talked, that's like the mystery dum lollipop of baseball. But I mean, Machado has more power, more steals, and he's going after Devers on average. Like, what? I don't know. I don't understand it. I honestly, if you're drafting Devers before Machado, and like, I don't know why. I can't understand why anyone would do that. So yeah, I feel like there's no way I'm ever drafting Rafael Devers this year unless there is like another injury and he falls really far, and then I'm just taking a discount or something. But there's really very little chance of me drafting Rafael Devers this year.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. Again, it's for me, it's injury related on the player rater. Out of the last previous 3 seasons, they've split them, so it's kind of one way or the other. Manny's won when Devers has missed time. So I don't know. It's fine. Either one's fine. But again, that's why he's at the bottom of those 30 home run, 270 guys for me. There is injury risk. But the lineup in the ballpark do matter, and that helps that Devers. I mean, that's why he finishes above Machado despite the differences in stolen bases. He hits for a little bit better average and puts up better counting numbers pretty consistently.
Yeah, it's fair. I'm just out on him.
No, I completely understand. Number 7, which starts a new tier for you, Mark Vientos, 111 games last year, 27 home runs, no stolen bases, 58, 71, 266, 322, 516. You have him down for 34 home runs, 1 stolen base, 82, 95, and 251. He was top 50 in hard hit, barrel, and average exit velocity. I mean, I like Vientos as well.
Yeah, man. I feel like you and I are like a little bit on an island all our own with our love for Vientos because like I see a bunch of people talking about how Mark Vientos is a bust candidate, and I just don't get it. Like I don't see why he would like he did it last year. Like what is there like where I don't know where people are pointing. Honestly, I haven't really done enough research into what other people are saying to really understand exactly why they're down on him either. But I mean, I don't know. I see a guy like one thing I will say, which is a bit of a pet peeve of mine, like a guy who has like last year, Mark Vientos had a 29.7 strikeout rate, and this year every single projection system has him either doing exactly the same or worse for strikeouts. And it's like, why can't anyone ever get better? Why? Like, I understand some guys do get worse. That's fair, I guess. But like in the in like AAA, Mark Vientos was like a 21% strikeout rate guy. Like he was not necessarily bad for strikeouts in the minors. Like it's like he came, he was 24 last year. It was his first year. He had a near 30% strikeout rate, but okay, now he can get better. Like that's possible. I'm not saying he definitely will. I think he will. I'm under the assumption he will get better because guys do get better. That's what they all do. I mean, not all of them, but I mean, most guys do get better. Like, it's like a guy, especially with his, hit tool, he wasn't necessarily a guy who was like, who seemed like completely lost. And then like he had like, a random month and a half or something in the major leagues last year. Like he played basically the whole year last year, 111 games, over 400 at bats, and he hit 266. If he was going to get exposed, he probably would have got exposed last year. So I'm not really concerned about like, everything bottoming out this year and him hitting like 230 as some projection systems are saying. Like they have him down for like 230 with a 30% strikeout rate this year. It's like, wow, wow, he's going to get so much worse. I mean, I don't know. I mean, anything can happen. Like that's what makes, this fun. So it's like nothing's set in stone here. Who knows? Maybe he does get worse, but I think there's as much chance that he gets much better. And I'd actually bet on better versus worse because of just like his pedigree. I mean, he's good. He hits the ball, like you mentioned, the hard hit and stuff. Like he hits the ball really hard. Like everything is like his Statcast looks sweet outside of like, the strikeouts, which we've already talked about. So, I mean, if he's making good contact and he's in the middle of a solid lineup, I wrote a sleeper post on him. So I'm in big time for Mark Vientos. I'm a big fan. I'm drafting him everywhere I can. I'm probably, if his ADP, like I think I mentioned at one point in my rankings, if his ADP is 90, I'm taking him at 75. If his ADP moves up to 75, I'm moving up to 65. I'm in on Mark Vientos, and wherever people are at, I'm going around earlier on him. I really am a big fan.
Yeah, I have a feeling this is like one of those. He had a bad last month. He had a bad September, but like everybody has a bad month. And if it happened in July, like it wouldn't be a concern, but because he's a young player and it happened in September when he was dealing with an ankle and everything else that comes with playing a full baseball season, like it looks like he, fell off at the end of the season and pitchers figured him out, which, maybe in that 1 month it did happen. But again, everybody has a bad month. If it happened in June, none of this would be concerning. The K rate did go up in the second half as a whole. He got a little bit more aggressive, maybe toned that back down a little bit, but that's also where some of the power came from. I'm fine with him being a 260 hitter if he's going to hit 30 home runs. Like that's 260 is fine. I don't need him to be a 300 hitter for where he's going. And that's, I mean, I feel like that's very much within the realm of possibility, Greg.
Yeah, no, completely. I see the splits, and he did, like, in September was his worst month, I guess, for strikeouts, but it was a bad month for BABIP for him too. His BABIP was way down. So you get, you get a couple unlucky breaks with the ball. You hit the ball hard, it goes into a hitter's, a fielder's glove. Then you come up next time and you start like stretching your strike zone and you're swinging at balls. And, before you know it, your strikeouts are going up a little bit. But this is small sample size stuff. Like that is not a full season. That's a month. It's like, yeah, okay. So he had a bad month. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, 4 hits in a month would actually get him up to 263 because it's basically his August. So again, it's not that big of a deal. I think he's being underrated for a bad month at the end of the season. I'm giving him a general pass on that, and I like him, Gray. I think only auction this week should be fun when he comes up for you and I. Number 8 is Jordan Westberg, who we already talked about in the second base podcast. Number 9 is Junior Caminero. Last year had 53 games at AAA where he had 13 home runs, a stolen base, and hit 276, 331, and 498. He had 43 games in the majors where he hit 4 home runs, 2 stolen bases, and hit 248, 299, 424. You have him projected for 28 home runs, 7 stolen bases, 82, 88, and 264. Gray, we love young, talented players. It's always hard for us to kind of pass up on that dreaming scenario sometimes. He would have been in around top 100 in average exit velocity, top 65 in hard hit and barrels. Do you have shares? Do you think he's worth top 70, 80 pick, which is where you have to use it, at least on NFBC? I have a feeling in some other drafts, you can get him later, and then I really do like him. But what do you feel about in the 70, 80 range, Greg?
I don't know if I have shares yet, to be honest. I have him ranked at 85 overall. I think I have him. So I have him near ADP. I'm fine with them there. Like, I think his projections, so take me out of the equation. His projections are like 25 homers, 5 steals, 260. That's probably a solid floor projection. I think there's a chance that, unfortunately, I think best case scenario he could be like Austin Riley, I guess, maybe with like a handful of steals versus like 1 or 2 steals that you get from Riley. So the problem is he doesn't really have like a great fantasy profile, say like maybe a Jazz Chisholm or something. Like there's no real speed whatsoever. So I mean, I like him though. I think maybe 40 homers, 5 steals, 290, 310 like in a year or two is what we could be looking at. He's still crazy young. So he's only 21 years old. So, I mean, maybe optimistically this year, 30 homers, 5 steals, 275, which is really good. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's basically Manny Machado. It's not too far off, at least. So yeah, I'm in for at his ADP. I would absolutely draft him. I like him a lot. I do think we might not see what he's truly capable of for another year or two. He feels really raw. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe he puts it together this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if, he is a top 25 overall player in like 2027 or something. But I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be 2026,
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's this year. I do like him long term for dynasty leagues. Definitely go acquire him if that's even a possibility. But yeah, I think for this season, there's a little bit of question in regards to just will Tim Bay allow him to play every day? He did struggle versus righties, and they are the platoon organization. Um, and like his what I project for him for is basically Mark Vientos, and I don't necessarily love his lineup that he's in. So I think that's why he's a little bit lower for me. I think the same with you. He's going, about 10 picks later than Vientos, and both of us have Vientos over him. So I would imagine neither of us end up with a lot of shares of Caminero unless it's just to grab one, just to have it in case the breakout comes, because it is possible he could become Machado, this year.
Yeah, I mean that's also another case where it's like, how is he going? I don't know. I guess it's an upside scenario where it's like I don't know how he's going in front of Vientos. Like that's mind-boggling to me, but I guess it's a upside thing that people just assume he has more upside because like I don't know. I see Vientos as having a floor that is, basically is what I'm hoping to get from Caminero. Like I think, like I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like, and this is just for this year. Like we're
Yeah.
saying, like I love him for like 2027, but man, is he young and the tools are not like it's like hopefully 35 homers and 5 steals and a 280 average, but there's no steals again to fall back on. It's like what I was saying with Rafael Devers. It's like, and he doesn't, I don't know. I just feel like Caminero is just he's just a year or two away for me to be like insanely excited. But I would draft him at like I said at 80. I'm at 85 overall, and he's going at 75 overall. So I guess I'm a hair behind ADP, but I'm close enough. I guess that there is a chance I get him.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm sitting on a turn, I could definitely see a scenario where the guys I want are all gone, so I might as well grab him and get a share. Like I said, we're still projecting him to be on par with Vientos, who we like. He has the upside, which is nice to see. But I have him down at 91. There's there's probably not a whole lot of chances I'm getting unless I just boost him to have him. Let's move on though. Number 10, Alex Bregman. Last year had 26 home runs, 3 stolen bases, 79, 75, hit 260, 315, 453. You have him down for 25 home runs, 5 stolen bases, 92, 81, 282. The counting numbers were down last year. Walk rate was down below double digits for the first time since 2017. But he does go from Houston to Boston. So, the drop off that we might have been concerned about is at least halted for a year.
I think well, I'm trying to remember where I had him because I had him ranked prior to the signing in Boston, and I think it was I want to say maybe 50 to 60 overall picks later, and I want to say like 5 or 6 third baseman, maybe 7. I had him a decent amount after this. I think he's now in the top 100 for me. He was I want to say at like 140, 145 overall for me prior to the signing in Boston. Like I think outside of maybe going back to Houston and them building a left field wall that went up like 50 feet and then moving it in like 100 feet. I don't think there's a better spot for Alex Bregman outside of Boston. Like that is like if you're gonna go somewhere and like, bet on yourself to like, with like 1 year contracts. Well, he has opt outs. But I mean, if you're going to go somewhere to, potentially build up your value in your 30s, I don't know if there's a better place than Fenway, man. I mean, and that's and usually, I've said this so many times before, but like usually I don't look at guys like their splits when it comes to their stadiums. Like, if a guy is on the road, it's different than a guy being at home. Just in general, if a guy is hitting well at home, it's because he's staying in his own house. He's surrounded by people he loves. In theory, of course, some players are surrounded by people they hate, I'm sure. But I mean, it's just like it's a different experience to be at home versus on the road where you're staying in a hotel and blah blah blah. So I think, I don't usually look at splits when it comes to stadiums, but I didn't even have to look to see what he was like a career hitter in Fenway. I mean, it's obvious. He's a righty, and all he does is hit like lazy fly balls to left field. He's gonna lead the league in doubles. I mean, I think my original projections for him were like, 62 or something around there. I bumped him up to 282. Like, that's huge. I bumped him up 20 points in average just on the move to Boston alone. Like, I can't imagine a better place for him. So yeah, I mean, and before this, I was not drafting him anywhere. And I've already drafted him, I think, once or twice. I might have drafted him twice already. Like, I really like this landing spot for him. So I'm all in on Alex Bregman. I feel like for his right now, his ADP is like at a spot where like he's still at 125-ish overall in ADP. I think that is mostly a post signing in Boston. That ADP it might have a week or two of pre-signing, so that might be a little bit low. But even if he's at like 100, 110 overall, I'm still before that. So I'm drafting Alex Bregman everywhere I can.
Yeah, I like Bregman in this stadium too. I think it's going to help with average. You might lose a handful of home runs, not even a handful, just a few here or there. Just, it's a lot harder to hit them that high. But as you mentioned, he's going to hit so many balls off of the wall there. I mean, it's going to be ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, I think I had him worse than you did average wise. I think I was dropping him to like 245. The world was falling for Alex Bregman in my projections.
Oh my God, Alex Bregman went from like signing in Detroit where he was going to be projected for 12 homers and a 240 average.
Javier Baez, basically.
And possibly getting drafted by me around 300 overall to going to Boston. Like if he was batting behind Matt Verling in Detroit, I would have been like, you know what? Alex Bregman cannot be ranked low enough if he was in Detroit.
Did he say hi to Bo Bichette while he's down there in my rankings?
It would have been like Alex Bregman is on. I would have watched like Tigers games, and they would have like cut to the dugout, and it's like, oh, there's Alex Bregman talking with Javier Baez on how to hit a slider. Like, what is going on? Get him out of there. But now it's like, yeah, he's just going to hit doubles all day. I love Alex Bregman in Fenway. It's amazing.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next tier here. Great. Tier 4. Number 11, Jake Berger. Number 12, Luis Rengifo. And number 13, Isaac Paredes. We've all talked about. So let's move to number 14, Matt Chapman. Last year had 27 home runs, 15 stolen bases, 98, 78, 247, 328, 463. You have down for 25 home runs, 7 stolen bases, 81, 86, 242. His K rate was below 25%. I mean, he's always hit the ball hard when he does hit it, Gray. But he had his career best contact rate. That also came with his career high first strike rate. What are your thoughts on Matt Chapman here?
I actually, now I think about it, we could have an all-star break during the all-star break before the home run derby. You could have a sprint contest, the first for Matt Chapman versus Manny Machado, and then a steal second contest where it's like they both stand on first, and you're just measuring how much they want to steal second. That's it. That's the whole contest. It's just like sprint the first, and then we will judge how much you want to steal second. that'll be aired live on ESPN. You just zoom in on the guy's brain. That's right now. It looks like he wants to steal. This is really fascinating. Okay. Anyway. I will say I don't know what to expect from Matt Chapman. Like he's as puzzling as Machado when it comes to steals. Like the fact that Matt Chapman stole 15 bags last year, like the Giants don't even really run that much. I don't know where, and it wasn't even like he was caught stealing a lot. He only got caught stealing twice. So I mean, I get it. There's the pitch clock, but also, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly, it's all up to whether or not Matt Chapman wants to steal. So yeah, we'll zoom in on his brain to figure that out. I think the power is like you mentioned, like he makes hard contact, which is good, and he hits a lot of fly balls. So I think a lot of fly balls is going to hurt his batting average more than likely. So I have him at 242. That seems about right. He had 240 in 2022. In 2023, and he hit 247 last year. Yeah, kind of split the difference. It's somewhere. It's going to be somewhere in there because he hits so many fly balls. The big concern is as he gets older and he hits fly balls, and San Francisco is not the best park for it. If there's a scenario where his batting average just plummets and his power plummets, like previous aging sluggers, it could get ugly for Matt Chapman. Absolutely. I don't think he's at the ugly stage of his career yet, so I'm not out, but you could, I mean, if we show up next year and Matt Chapman is like a 20 to 23 homer 230 hitter, it wouldn't shock me either. Like the fall off could happen at any point. Hopefully it doesn't happen this year, and there's no real sign that it's necessarily going to happen. So knock on wood, he should be okay.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he's going to be okay. He does worry me. I don't really know what to do with him either. He's just very inconsistent in his career, and he's just dropped off the mountain and forgotten how to hit fastballs at times, which seems like the weirdest thing to me. Like that would be the one thing you kind of have or don't have. Like you're either a good fastball hitter or not. And for whatever reason, it's just bad across the board, really, for him. At times, I have him ranked, I think, around the same spot you do. Just, it's very questionable, and it's kind of a situation where, all right, he's the last one left. I guess I'll grab him.
Yeah, it's a hard one. I think if I feel like he's a deep league third baseman and more of a corner man, 12-team mix, and it depends on what you have around them. Like maybe if you have if you have Jazz Chisholm at third, and you're like, oh, I'll take Matt Chapman at corner because I will get some power, and the steals don't really matter as much because I have Jazz. Maybe it's just like I'll draft Matt Chapman, but he's definitely not like the first guy where I'm like, oh yes, I got Matt Chapman. It's not a celebratory draft pick. It's it's okay. I'm fine with it. I do worry at some point, there'll be a fall off, with the yodeling man of Matt Chapman.
Yeah, it's very fair concern. I will say, for what it's worth, Gray, he is a lot faster than Manny Machado, according to sprint speed.
It's but it's so much about what he wants to do, I think, because it's hard really to square him having a high of like 2 steals and then being like, I'm on the worst team for steals and I'm gonna steal a bunch of bags. It doesn't track necessarily, but he did it, so
he's just Freddie Freemaning us, Gray. It's just that's what's happening here. He just moved to a new team. He's like, I'm just gonna run. Screw it.
Meantime, like speaking of Freeman, if you were to say like you'd get 27 homers and 15 steals from Freddie Freeman, oh my god, how happy would you be? You feel like you would be overjoyed, and that's what Matt Chapman just did. I mean, so it's a potential there for a good season, but it's hard to fully trust it, I guess.
It is, Gray. Along with the next guy, also very hard to trust. And I have a question, Gray. At one point, like when you started drafting Adalberto Mondesi, it was just kind of like, oh, you're the one guy left in the room who's still crazy. When do we get to that point with Royce Lewis? 82 games last year, had 16 home runs, hit 233. You have him down for 21 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 56, 64, 246, and 407 at bats. He had a quad issue. He had a hip abductor issue. He wasn't really good after returning after the hip abductor issue either. So I ask you again, when are we the crazy guy that's the only one left in the room, Gray? How many more years?
I mean, I'm not crazy for Royce Lewis. If anything, I'm the one who's like rolling their eyes when someone drafts Royce Lewis. I don't think I've ever rostered him. I don't think I would be in this year either. I don't really understand the attraction fully, other than I see like you're insulting Adalberto Mondesi here because he was at one point, it did seem like he could hit 20 homers and steal 60 bags. I know it's probably not going to happen. likely not. I'm willing to concede Mondesi may not happen, but Royce Lewis, I mean, at best case scenario, I don't know. What are you getting here? 25 homers, 7 steals, 250. Even that feels like absurd. Those would all like blow away his career best numbers. Like he's never hit 20 homers in a year. He's never stolen more than 6 bags in a year. Last year, I mean, he hit 233. So it's like, what is, I don't know. And he's also, I mean, he's 25 already. So it's not like this is a 22-year-old who is just like putting it together and has had a few setbacks. Like he's had a lot of setbacks. He hasn't played a full season in like 6 years. I mean, it's been a long time since we've really seen, I guess 2019 was his last real full season. He's had so many injuries, and I don't know at this point really what to expect that is like that good. And not to mention, you put all that aside, and then you have the fact that like Baldelli platoons everyone. Like you cannot find a guy he won't platoon. Like he really like he gets his jollies off on platooning guys. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with Baldelli, but he platoons guys that shouldn't even be platooned. Like you look at it's like, oh yeah, there's a incoming platoon of Jose Miranda and Ty France. It's like, what? They're both righties. What are you platooning? What are you doing, man? Like, it doesn't make sense, half of his platoons. So, yeah, I don't know. With Royce Lewis, I'm pretty out on him, man, until we see something. But even I feel like even the best thing we could see is like 130 games, which is so ludicrous to even say, but 130 games of like 75 runs, 25 homers, 85 RBIs, 7 steals, and a 260 average, say, which is fine. I mean, that's not bad. That's probably Nick Castellanos ish. I mean, it's okay. It's fine. It's just like there's not this great upside though for Royce Lewis. Like Mondesi had great upside. I mean, come on.
Mondesi was going to be it, Gray. He really was. It was going to happen. They just
it could still happen. Don't
when
count
he comes
him out
back
yet.
from Korea in 6 years. Maybe great. Maybe eventually when he returns, it could happen. No, I mean, I think the upside for Royce Lewis is we've seen him be like among the best hitters in baseball when he's fully healthy. So that's what the upside would be him being among the best hitters in baseball when he's healthy. Like he could put up 290, 35 if he stayed healthy for a full season. And I don't even think that's even difficult for him if he's healthy. But that's a huge caveat.
Yeah. No. I mean, I will say I've seen him hit a home run and the ball just bounces off his bat.
It's not hard for him.
Yeah. No, he does have an extremely beautiful swing. I mean, I get it. I do. I could see the upside. It's just like I feel like maybe we get a season from him that is like one of those rare, like, a once in a lifetime season, and he does it like one time, and then people go back and start chasing it for like the next 5 years. Like maybe, yeah, like maybe like that happens, but that would be. I mean, at this point, I get what is that, like a 20% chance of that? I mean, there's just so little, maybe 10% chance. It's just like you're just taking a total flyer at this point.
Yeah, you are. It is just a gamble, but if you're in the right position where you have some security or it's a shallow enough league, I don't hate it. Number 16, Alec Baum, and number 17, Willie Castro, we talked about already. Number 18, Eugenio Suarez. Last year had 30 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 90, 101, 256, 319, 469. You have him down for 27 runs, 2 stolen bases, 74, 88, and 231. He had the best K rate since 2017, but he also had the worst walk rate since 2015. It feels like nobody likes his profile. We all think he's 45 years old, but he's still having productive years. I mean, he went 30, 256, and he's down here. I really feel bad about doing it to him every year, but I swear he's 45, Gray. And like he's just paying people on the internet to go in and change his age down. Like,
I like how you're like everyone thinks he's 45. Who's everyone? I don't think he's 45.
I think he's 45. Like I feel like he's been around
we all think he's 45. Already. Like what? It's like yeah, we all think he's 45. I don't at all. I mean, I think he's 30. I think he's 33. I think he is what he is. I don't know. I mean, maybe
somebody else has to agree with me. I know somebody listening is like, I know exactly what you're saying. Every year I look at him, I'm like, he's 38, right? And you're like, no, he's 33 this year. No. Like, no, that was like 5 years ago.
I mean, I get like, I look at it. Albert Pujols, and I'm like, oh, he's 76 years old. Absolutely. I mean, he's a contemporary with my hairdresser. I mean, that's for sure. But Eugenio Suarez, I don't get that vibe, but I don't know, maybe. Anyway, he was like, I think it was Judge. Was it Judge? Yeah, Judge, Ohtani, and then him were like the three best players in all of baseball in the second half last year. Eugenio Suarez had like a historic second half. He was really good. So the fact that if you're able to get him here, like you could be getting basically like a Rafael Devers 130 picks later potentially. I don't mind Eugenio Suarez. I think he's definitely like he's a corner man, and you may be potentially hurting an average. Like last year he hit 256, but it was he had a second half that was just like extraordinary. His K rate was way down. I mean, his K rate was way down. He was hitting everything. He was in one of those grooves where I don't think you can expect it necessarily to happen over the course of the full season. But I don't know. I mean, stranger things have happened. I do think like if he were to be in a groove for like the whole season, he's the type, like he's already done this too. Like he hit 49 homers one year. Granted, it was 2019 when the ball was bouncing, and he was in Cincinnati where the ball bounces all the time. So he did hit 49 homers one year. So I don't know. I mean, maybe 30, everyone's projected him for like, this is not me, excluding me. Other people are projecting him for like 22 homers, which, I mean, maybe he hits 22 homers. That would, he did that in 2023, but that was in Seattle where the park is awful. So I don't know. I mean, he feels like a 27 homer, 230, 235 hitter, which is fine. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's definitely more of a corner man than a third baseman. But I would draft him if I needed power late.
Yeah, I mean, I like Eugenio. I don't mind him as a corner infielder at all. As you mentioned, went from the worst park for righties to a top 5 park. That's definitely helped him, and you saw it last season. So, no, I don't see any reason he can't do it again, despite my false ageism against him. Number 19 is Michael Garcia, and number 20 is Connor Norby. We already talked about them on the second base show. Number 21, Matt Shaw. Across AA and AAA last year, he had 21 home runs, 31 stolen bases, 78, 71, hit 284, 379, 488. You project for 12 home runs, 24 stolen bases, 68, 71, 236, sub 20% K rate, over an 11% walk rate at each stop last year. And I guess kind of the question here is they brought in Justin Turner, they have Michael Busch, and then there's Matt Shaw. Do you think Shaw's loses any playing time here? And then also, I guess, do you believe in him? Is the other question.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know why they brought in Justin Turner. I don't know what's going on in that clubhouse, where I guess that front office, I should say, because like they brought in Kyle Tucker and then Justin Turner, and then like basically did nothing. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I like Matthew Boyd, but yeah, I mean, I'm assuming they're going for it because they brought in Kyle Tucker, but like, I mean, they should have done something else. I think
They clearly don't have the money, Gray. Obviously, the Cubs don't make enough money to go spend any more than what they spent.
No, I know. There's also like Chicago is such a small market,
I know, tiny market, definitely not, obsessive fans at all.
Yeah. How could you possibly find any money there?
I mean, they have their own network. I mean, for crying out loud.
I know. Okay, so Matt Shaw, if like I don't know, he like I think I think I'm around ADP maybe. I don't know. I like him. I do feel like he's a weird one because it's like in the minors last year, 21 homers, 31 steals and 284. I mean, that I feel like I think that should get people's attention, but he's such an afterthought for most drafts so far that I've seen that I get the sense that people are, and he also had an 18.2% strikeout rate, sub 20% K rate in the minors. Like, that's really good. So I don't know really, and I'm not sure why, because I feel like people are pretty low on him. I'm not 100% sure why. I don't know. Like, I think like there's no hype. I would think there would be, considering what he did last year in the minors, and as of right now, it's at least his everyday job is penciled in. It should be. I mean, again, they brought in Justin Turner for some reason, so who knows? But I don't think Justin Turner's playing third anymore. I think if anything, he's gonna platoon with Michael Bush at first. So Matt Shaw should have the job. I don't know. I mean, he seems good. I don't see why. I feel like he's probably a good, I want to say 50 spots off of where I would have guessed his ADP would be. It's like ADP is funky though, because there's also like a scenario where it's like you get, you put in, you plug him in to ADP at 250 in October when people start drafting, and he never really moves up because people are just like, oh, 250, that's where he should go. And it's like, well, I mean, maybe 170. Maybe he should have maybe he should have been a 150 overall guy. I don't know. And honestly, I can't disagree with it that hard, because I don't have him ranked like that tremendously higher either, because I also don't know, like, the Cubs are, if he's batting at the bottom of the order, which he could be. I don't know what to expect from him, or what the Cubs' plan is. And also, I mean, we should say, as of the recording of this, which is Monday, February 24th, he was battling an oblique issue, which I think we're early enough in the preseason where he's going to be fine. But there is that. But that isn't. I don't think that's really playing itself into the ADP situation, to be honest. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, projections for him look pretty decent. Probably 2020 250, or what the other projections are saying for him. If you if you were to prorate him out to a full season, no one's really giving him a full season though. So there is that.
Yeah, I mean, I've moved him up and down my ranking. He might be the one. He might have moved more than anybody else in the rankings. My homerism had him up in the like 150 range, and then I dropped him down because I felt like I was being a homer, and then I moved him back up because I saw him go before me in some drafts, and I wasn't happy about that. And then Turner signed, and I wasn't really sure how the playing time splits out, but Turner, as somebody pointed out, doesn't play a lot of third base recently. Not that Bush couldn't slide over and play some third base, and they have other people who can play there as well. But Shaw has the upside. I don't mind bumping him up and grabbing him early, but I think I have him in like the 190 range as well. So happy to take him. I'm above ADP on him, but there's still some question marks, as you mentioned, in regards to the batting order, as well as just the playing time. But I think he's gonna be good. Like the numbers in the minors were very solid last year. I think he could give you, even if he doesn't hit for average, a lot of good stolen bases and a little bit of pop.
Yeah.
Number 22, Ryan McMahon, and we're hitting the wall at third base. Last year had 20 home runs, 4 stolen bases. hit 242. You project for 22 home runs, 5 stolen bases, and 244. It was his career best average exit velocity and hard hit, and he had 20 home runs, Gray. So we are to the point that I hope you've grabbed a third base or you're willing to take some risk on here.
Yeah, but you know what? In defense of Ryan McMahon, because someone's got to be. He's done it nearly the exact same. He's had it nearly the exact same season, like since 2019. Even when the ball was bouncy, he wasn't hitting many more homers. He had 24 homers. In 2019, he had 24 homers when the ball was bouncing. And then he hit 23 homers when the ball wasn't bouncing. So he got an extra homer out of that. Yeah, I mean, I looked up I was curious as you were introing Ryan McMahon. I looked up on the player rater, and last year he was at 199 overall on the player rater. I mean, he's not a sexy pick, but Bud Black is going to send him out there for like 150 plus games. He's going to hit like third in the Rockies order, and he's going to put up 20 homers, 5 steals, hit 245, and he's going to be just barely a 200 overall value. So, yeah, it's not great. I'm not saying it's great, but I mean, he's being drafted at like 250, 275 overall. So there's a little bit of, a bump in value, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like Ryan McMahon is the 200 version of Brian Reynolds at 100. Like, if you get Brian Reynolds at 100, you can pretty much pencil him in for you're going to get about draft day value, maybe better. Brian McMahon, pencil him in around 200, you're going to get draft day value. There's really not a lot of upside. There's not a whole lot he's going to go from there, but he's going to give you value at, around 200. So if you see him at 250, you grab him and get a little bit of value, squeeze the orange if you want to start him for his 20 home runs and 245 average, but he's fine.
Yeah.
Number 23, a guy who was better than fine for a long time and now not so much. Nolan Arenado, last year at 16 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 70, 71, and 272. You have projected for 18 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 63, 67, and 254. A lot of the Cardinals are getting passes because it's a bad year for the team, but he had a career worst average exit velocity, hard hit, and barrel. Highest ground ball rate in 6 years, lowest fly ball rate and home run to fly ball since his rookie season. As Chris Nolan would say in like every movie he makes now, you either die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain, right?
Yeah. Actually, I don't know if I ever mentioned this. I might have, but one of Ted's dog walker, Ted, my dog, his dog walker also walks Christopher Nolan's dog. So Ted's friends with Christopher Nolan's dog.
Can he steal something from his house and ship it to me?
Yeah. Well, I'll work on teaching Ted that trick. Ted, I'll give you a treat if you steal Christopher Nolan's Oscar.
See anything Oscar or bats wings related, grab.
Ted's gonna come home wearing the Batman mask. Okay. Anyway, Nolan Arenado is he somewhat annoys me because I don't know if you remember, but I've mentioned this a dozen somewhat times before. But I was saying that Nolan Arenado was overrated in 2023, and then he managed to squeak out one final year where he was decent, and it made me look dumb. But I saw this coming. I saw the fall. It was so obvious to me in 2023 that it was coming. I just wasn't able to pinpoint the exact year it was coming. But I think honestly, if people are interested in seeing like what an aging slugger's profile looks like, you could look at Nolan Arenado's numbers. And that's exactly the reason why, like, a certain profile just does not age well. Like a launch angle and high fly balls is all well and good when the ball is flying out of the stadium. But when it's not going out of the stadium and you're just hitting like 350-foot outs and just like and no speed, it just becomes really, and just because a guy doesn't strike out, like Nolan Arenado's strikeouts didn't go up. He only struck out 14.5% of the time, but just because his strikeouts don't go up, you're just like your batted ball profile is just so bad that it doesn't even matter if you're making contact because you're just making terrible contact. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the Cardinals are still trying to trade him. I think the only one, there's probably like, one team that'll accept Nolan Arenado, and that is the Razzball Baseball Podcast team. Come over. Come on. You don't have a no trade clause with us, do you? Let's talk Nolan Arenado. Let's do a chat sesh.
The Cubs would do it, but the Cardinals won't trade with the Cubs. So, we're good on that front.
I would actually love to see the Cubs trade for Nolan Arenado just to see your head explode. Like you're pushing Matt Shaw back to the minors so Nolan Arenado can hit 15 homers in your lineup with a 260 average. Nolan Arenado is on the Cubs would be like, oh my God, I don't know. Maybe his glove plays so well that he makes somewhat sense, but for real baseball, but man, talk about an anchor in a lineup. Ugh, I would not want Nolan Arenado on my team if I was a real baseball team.
Maybe the Rockies can trade like Tovar for Arenado.
Oh my God! You are speaking truth right now about the Colorado Rockies. If you mention that 3 more times, the Rockies will trade for Arenado and extend him another 7 years, and still send money to the Cardinals.
Just give him the full like Buster Posey treatment.
Oh my God! Yes. Oh my God! Oh my God!
Great. We're moving on next year. Number 24, Josh Jung. 46 games last year. 7 home runs, 4 stolen bases, hit 264. You have him down for 18 home runs, 4 stolen bases, 264. 25.5% K rate in very limited sample was the best so far. He had wrist issues after a hit by pitch that cost him most of last season. Wrist is not that great of an injury to have, whether it's hit by pitch or fractured on some other runner. Are you concerned here? What's your thoughts on Josh Jung?
I think probably like a fair comp is like Royce Lewis, just maybe a hair less upside, but in reality, I mean, that's probably what you're looking at, like a guy who can't really stay on the field. Best case scenario is probably 25 homers, 5 steals, and a 260 average. I mean, there's some and maybe there's some upside potentially, but you gotta stay on the field and play to fulfill any of this upside. It's like you can only have so much upside if you're not playing the games, so I don't know. I mean, he's a fine flyer for like a corner man or a utility in a deep league. Like at this point, like you mentioned, we're in a new tier. Like this is like you're in like a 15 team mixed league type scenario here with a corner man. Like you've really punted your corner or even your utility. I think maybe there might be times during the year where we're talking about Josh Jung being hot and being interesting for like a 12-team mixed league. But at this point, if you're drafting him, I think you're just like, you're sort of hoping for upside, but anticipating, 17 homers, three steals, maybe 17 homers, 3 steals, and a 250 average is probably roughly a realistic projection with this upside potential.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair projection. I have him above kind of these boring guys that we've talked about here in the last couple, just because of the upside. Whereas I don't think we really have it with Arenado or McMahon or you know maybe like a Michael Garcia. Like I just don't see the upside with those guys. Whereas Jung has shown that. So in a shallower league, I'll just chase it, even though I may end up dropping all of them. Um, I'd rather just leave the draft with some upside, and I'll find playing time. You can always find in a 12-team league, even in a 15-team league, you can find playing time. So I do like Jung a little bit more than you, but I completely understand. If it had been an injury that was his fault, I'd probably dock him more. But knowing that it's not like he got hurt on his own, he didn't. It's not a hamstring. His knees aren't bad. Like he got hit in the wrist with a pitch. I'm willing to give him a little bit more pass in regards to being able to stay on the field. Number 25, Harmer Candelario. Number 26, Brendan Donovan. And number 27, Joe Ortiz, we've already talked about. So moving on to the next tier, number 28, Matt Verling. 144 games last year, 60 home runs, 6 stolen bases, 80, 57, 257, 312, 423. I'm projected for 15 home runs, 6 stolen bases, 72, 76, 259. I got him in our AL only in the auction. I don't love that, but it could be worse, Gray. I mean, he's going to get playing time. He's a producer. He was top 120 in hard hit, average exit velocity, and barrel. That's not premium, but that's still pretty solid in regards to the contact quality at this point in the draft.
Yeah, it could have been worse. You could have had Ernie Clement or someone else who's even worse. I don't know. Matt Verling, I think he's actually. I mean, I'm giving you crap. I think he's actually pretty decent for a deep league, like an AL only. I don't mind him because like he seems like he's Hinch seems to like him. He plays a lot, like last year he had over 500 at bats, went 16-6, 257, which isn't necessarily like obviously it's not the sexiest line, but if he's in the lineup every day, in the middle of the lineup, even if it is the Tigers, I mean, maybe like last year he had 80 runs. Maybe he gets 70 75 runs, 70 75 RBIs if he's hitting like in the 5-hole potentially. Maybe he hits leadoff depending on what they do at Parker Meadows. I mean, I don't know. It's not awful. I think for this late, obviously, I mean, we're not talking like, he's not ranked, in the top 10 for third base. Like we're at a position here now where we're really late, but for AL only, sure, that's fine. I don't hate it.
Yeah, that's basically where I was at. Looking at the third baseman left in the pool, I was a spot where I don't hate it was still pretty good for me. So happy with that pick. Moving on to number 29, Max Muncy. He had 73 games last year, 15 home runs, 1 stolen base, hit 232, 358, 494. He projected for 20 home runs, 1 stolen base, 51, 54, and 206. Didn't even give us a courtesy 130 games last year, Gray. Contact numbers were down some. Launch angle was up to 26.6, which would have been the highest qualified launch angle by 2.2 degrees had he qualified in games played.
Yeah, I just had a random prediction alert. I feel like Max Muncy could have like a 10 homer, 30 RBI first month of the season, and everyone's like, Max Muncy, and then he's like hits 3 more homers the rest of the year and hits 180. That's what I feel like with Max Muncy's. And maybe not April. Maybe my magic 8 ball is a little bit off, but like he could have a good month. I wouldn't be shocked by that, but I wouldn't expect a full season of Max Muncy. Whether good or even healthy, I wouldn't expect a full season of him. Like at some point, he's going to go down with something. I don't trust him to stay on the field anymore. Enrique Hernandez or Chris Taylor. So they have they have so many guys, obviously. So I don't mind Max Muncy for NL only, third baseman or a corner man. I mean, that's fine, but I wouldn't expect much more than 20 to 25 homers and 215 average or something, like or maybe even lower, maybe like a 205 average, like potentially. So yeah, I don't mind him if he gets hot. Like I could see definitely scenarios where he's going to be like a buy of mine during the season where I'm like, Max Muncy's hot, go grab him in your 12-team mixed league. But it's not going to last all year.
No, it won't. At some point we're going to get, Enrique Hernandez or Tommy Edmonds going to shift over or something because Muncy's out. If you get 100 games out of him, good for you. It's going to be a terrible average and some power. If that's what you're looking for, then, there's worse things you can do this late in drafts. Number 30, Brian Hayes, 96 games last year, 4 home runs, 11 stolen bases, hit 233. You have him down for 7 home runs, 15 stolen bases, 54, 59, and 253. Yeah, this is one of those things you could do worse than Max Muncy late.
Brian Hayes has 37 homers and 51 steals in 1,800 career at bats. He's done less in his career than Shohei Ohtani did last year. If Shohei Ohtani if the Dodgers had an extra inning game that went like 1,400 extra innings, and Shohei Ohtani had an extra 1,300 at bats last year and went 0 for 1,300, him and Brian Hayes would be exactly the same.
That was a heck of a way around, Greg.
That's what you're getting with Brian Hayes, basically.
All right, so we just went through to a different dimension completely. Came back. Now we're back, Grade. Number 31 is Kobe Mayo. Last year in AAA, only had 9 games. AAA, sorry. 20 runs, 4 stolen bases, 61, 67, 287, 364, 562. You have him down for 11 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 29, 34, and 219. Didn't perform in his 46 plate appearances in the majors where he hit 098, but it was 46 plate appearance in the majors. He is number 20 on Itch's prospect rankings. Somebody that I will just grab as a gamble late in drafts. How do you like Kobe Mayo?
Kobe Mayo and all the Baltimore Orioles and the Baltimore Orioles. So this is what they do. They go and they get prospects, right? they get these prospects that are really good, and then they never play them. I don't know why. I can't figure out exactly why, but they invest a lot of time and resources into developing prospects that they never play. It doesn't make sense. So I don't know, man. I like Kobe Mayo too, but I don't know. I don't know where he's playing. I don't know what to expect for playing time from him. I think you're looking at maybe best case scenario, 25 homers, 5 steals, 280 in say 90 to 100 games. Worst case scenario is he comes up in September and I don't know. And people are like, damn, I should have drafted Ryan O'Hearn. I don't know. somewhere between, probably.
Yeah, I think it's just worth a gamble. See if he randomly gets a job out of spring training. We'll see what happens there. I it's crazy that they're going to go into the season with Ryan O'Hearn as a meaningful piece for them, but I feel like that's one that can be potentially displaced by the many people in their minors potentially.
You know what also would be kind of cool would be if the Orioles were like, maybe we could take Kobe Mayo and trade him for a starter. Huh? Maybe? I don't know. It's like there's a little bit of a problem when you only have 3 starters in your rotation there, Baltimore. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Maybe it might help you to trade someone, but
and one of them is 41 years old. So there's that.
There's that.
Number 32, Gray. Last one we're going to talk about here. Brady House across 129 games in AA, AAA. He had 19 home runs, 6 stolen bases, 68, 66, and 241, 297, 402. You projected for 15 home runs, 5 stolen bases, 31, 42, and 236. I don't know where Brady House is getting playing time either, so I didn't really have him ranked this high in mind, but it sounds like you think he's got a chance to earn a job in Washington, which, I mean, who doesn't have a chance to earn a job in Washington, I guess?
Yeah. No, I mean, in my defense, I have Brady House ranked at like 400 overall. So it's like, I mean, high relatively. I don't have him. I don't have him that high.
You have him listed on your list here.
I have him listed, right? Yeah. When I was doing my research for the rankings, I tend to search. I do a Google search and a Twitter search to see what news comes back. And on the Twitter search, I believe news came back that there was a conspiracy of right-wing white supremacists. Now, I can't find anything. I can't find searches don't work anymore on the internet. So unfortunately, not a lot of information came back. But what I saw was the beat writer for the Nationals. He said that Brady House was a potential call up for September, and he said that in August of last year. Now, it didn't happen, but the fact that he was a potential call up in September of last year, that got me a little bit intrigued, where I was like, okay, well, if he was almost called up in September of last year, he's probably going to get called up in like May, June of this year, I would think, assuming he doesn't get hurt or flame out or something this year. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like, I think, also, I mean, he's got a good pedigree. He's got a 70 grade power, 50 grade speed. So if he's up, he's going to give you power and speed. So it's already immediately, it's interesting. So yeah, I don't mind the flyer, but that's like, I mean, at 400 overall, this is like you're looking at an NL only flyer for Brady House. I mean, he's not going to be on your 12 team RCL league.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just a name to maybe keep an eye on. Even if he doesn't break the camp, you can just put him on your watch list, and then you can monitor news for him as things come up. There's some more names here, Gray. We've talked about all of them for the most part, and then there's some very, very deep guys. We've covered a lot of them already in the rankings. We're just going to call it here. If you have any specific questions, you can always find us on Twitter. I am at RazBeaton. Gray is, of course, the owner of the @Razball account. You can find us on youtube.com/RazballFantasy, on Razball.com in the comment section. And we'll be back next week with Outfielders Part 1, Gray. Talk to you later.
All right, late.